Okay, welcome. This video is all about everything you need to know about how to do the term project. Okay, so unlike normal projects where I would give you a class diagram to follow, I'm not doing that this time. In fact, I'm not even describing to you what the thing does. You need to figure it out from this video. So let's go look at the term project. So it's not due until the first week in December. It's worth 15 points. That's 1.5 letter grades. And it's supposed to show me that you learned everything. It says inheritance, polymorphism, exception handling, input validation, GUI layout, event processing, blah, blah, blah. Lots of good stuff here. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to demo the application as it's running, and you need to figure out how to get there based upon what you see in this video. So you need to be taking notes because there's no other information about what this thing does, okay? Good. All right, so here we go. So here is the application. This is the payroll application. And so it's got a layout that looks, well, just a row of labels and a row of either a combo box or a text field. And then down here, there's actually a hidden label that you can't see because there's nothing in it right now. A row of 3 buttons, 2 text areas, and that's about it. Okay, so let's just go through what the types of employees we have. So this is kind of sort of similar to what we did in chapter 8, where I have an hourly employee, an hourly exempt, which means they don't get overtime, an hourly plus commission, which means they get base pay plus commission, and then commission only, and then salaried, which is like, it doesn't matter how many hours you work, you get whatever your pay is per week. Now, the form is going to change whenever you make one of these selections. So if I go to commission, I have 3 boxes that are now lit up. So I can click inside these guys, but I can't click inside this one because it's not applicable. So I've disabled one of the text fields to make this work. When I go to commission, well, these go away and only the sales number comes out. That makes sense. And then, of course, when I go to salaried, all the rest of these go grayed out, and the only one you can select is the annual salary. That kind of makes sense. Okay. This is just a pick list for what would be part of an enumeration. The current week's chapter 11 talks about this, and when that gets released on the 16th of November, you're going to be able to use the chapter 11.java as a good starting point for this project. A very good starting point. Hint, 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 hint. Okay, so let's just go through it and show you how it works. So I'm going to start with just a plain old hourly exempt employee. Okay, so I'm going to put in here, Bob and Smith. I'm going to leave the thing on sales because I don't care. So Bob gets $13.45, and he worked, 40 hours. So I'm going to hit the Add Employee button, and it added that. Now, it's added that to this text area over here. Now, the text area contains the toString from that class instance, which contains everything you see here. The employee ID, first name, last name, what department they're in, and then what their type is. Okay, let's just do another one. So I'm going to do let's do a non-exempt. And so this is going to be Jane Doe, and she makes $13.45, and she worked 40 hours a week. Hey, let's change her. She's in engineering just for no particular reason. Okay, so now I have 2 employees, and as you can probably imagine, I'm actually storing these employee instances in some sort of a construct. Okay, so they're being stored, and as I add them, they get added to this text area. Okay, so now I'm going to run my payroll, and what payroll is going to do is to go through here and pick out. This is just the employee ID plus this thing called pay parameters. If you look at chapter 10 or chapter 11, you'll know what that is. So there's a return page parameters method, and then the calc pay method. Okay, everything kind of making sense? And then finally, I'm going to hit Save Report, and it's going to launch a dialog box, right? Just as normal. I'm going to put this on my desktop and hit Save. And then let's go look at this guy to see what it did. Okay, so this guy is the entire toString plus the pay parameters plus the calc pay. So it's everything absolutely everything we know about this employee. Okay, that kind of sort of makes sense. Now let me show you how the input validation part works. Okay, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to put in, I'm going to skip the first name for no particular reason. I'm just going to go down here and say Doe. And let's change it to, I don't know, that's fine. 33 and 33. I'm just trying to get something. If I hit this, it says, no, the first name field must not be blank. So this is all part of that primary input validation. That's making sense, okay? So this is a text, I'm sorry, this is a label down here. Now the label, the message could be kind of large. For example, if I put in here, if I fix that error and go down to here and put in, I don't know, something that's too big, like that, and try to add an employee, it says, the value for hourly rate is not valid. Acceptable range is between. Now, notice that in addition to having a red message down at the bottom where the text wraps, okay, because I don't want it to stop at the end, I want it to wrap. So this is one of those labels that's been kind of stretched out to be a little wider than that. So several things have happened. I got a red thing that pops up on the screen, and then to focus your eye on where the problem is, rather than going, where? I don't see it. I don't see the error. I don't see it. I've changed the background color of the offending field. So the offending field in this case is hourly rate. So I've changed the background color. Plus, I've given it focus. Focus means that the cursor is in that spot and the thing is turned blue. It does that for me as long as I just change the focus. So if I change the focus up here, see, it changes it to blue. Okay, so this is part of my error thing. My primary input validation is to give you an error, draw your eye to it, and put the cursor where the offending problem is to make it easy for you to solve. And you go, oh, okay, got it. It's 33, not that. Okay, so I'm going to add me an employee. Okay, is that kind of sort of making sense? Now, I have deliberately kind of poked a hole in my input validation to be able to demo something for you guys. So I'm going to go here and go to salaried, and I'm going to put, I don't know, yeah, whatever. And down here, I'm going to put in minus 40. Now, typically you would catch this with primary input validation, but I've deliberately taken that out just so I can demo what happens if an error slips through and goes all the way down to where the secondary input validation would occur. And now I get a pop-up message to say, hey, I couldn't build this thing, and something is invalid for the value for salary. Now, this message is not quite as pretty as the other one. It doesn't light up the thing and tell you what field you got it in and all the rest, because quite frankly, this should never actually happen, right? I mean, in theory, it should never happen. Okay, so that's basically how this thing works. You're building up a list of employees in some sort of a construct. You're outputting them to this text field, text area here. And then when you hit the payroll, it runs through and produces the payroll. When you hit save, it goes through and saves the thing as a text file. Okay, cool. So let's talk about where you can get some resources to help you out. Okay, so in Chapter 8, we did enumerations. There was an employee.java file. Yeah, you probably need to go look at that. And it has the enumerations. In fact, I believe it has the exact enumerations that we're using here, if I'm not mistaken. In Chapter 10, we did inheritance. We did polymorphism. We did different employee types. Now, we didn't do them all. For example, in Chapter 10, we did not do a salaried employee, but that one's easy, right? It's just the annual salary divided by 52, right? No big deal. And we didn't do the hourly plus commission, but that one easy. I think it'd be easy to figure out. So this week is Chapter 11, but when those lecture notes get released on the 16th, you're going to be able to use Chapter 11.java as a very good starting point for this employee thing. Okay. When we finally get to Chapter 12, you're going to learn how to do input validation inside an event handler, which is like that little red box that popped up there. Okay, cool. Also, there's in Chapter 12, we're going to do a layout demo. And the layout demo is remarkably similar to this. And in fact, I'll tell you up front, the only difference between the layout of this and the demo that we're going to do is, instead of having 3 buttons down here, it only has 2, and it doesn't have that little label down here in this little corner. That's it. All the rest is practically the same. So yeah, the layout demo coming up in chapter 12 is going to help you a great deal, I hope. Okay, when we get to chapter 13, that's when we're going to get the combo box and the text area, but quite frankly, they're not complicated. You could probably figure it out on your own, most likely. Okay. And then, of course, at the end of chapter 13, in the lecture notes, I give a list of all the little minor tweaks, like how to change the text to red, how to disable a text field, and how to do just a whole list of little things that to help you. You don't have to go search through things. So I'm giving you some hints coming through there. Okay, that kind of makes sense. So one more time, this is using inheritance, and when I'm running the payroll, it's using polymorphism. Okay, if those are completely strange words to you, you're probably going to do poorly in this thing. So I think that's about it. If you guys have any questions, or if I miss demoing something, please let me know. And otherwise, just stay tuned. Now, I'll confess that the day this thing is released, you probably do not have all the information you need to be able to work on it. You could start working on the employee part. Yeah, the scaffolding behind the scenes. But not the GUI part, because we just haven't covered it yet in lecture. Okay, so that's about it. And please do well on this project, since it's worth a huge chunk of your grade.